Hey everybody, Dr. Lennon here. We're looking at chapter 15 for your Kelly and Williams business intro to business book. And we're wrapping up the semester, so yay, here we go. Okay, so what is human resources all about? All right, well, a couple of things. We're going to learn the importance of it. We're going to talk about some key terms. We're going to look at some of the challenges and opportunities. We're going to talk about planning, their core resource responsibilities. We're looking at federal agencies that affect human resources. So let's start off. What does HR do? They focus on the workforce, right? They're trying to get the best talent they can get by recruiting. And they're going to try to promote career development. Basically, get good people, promote them, develop their careers. You're going to develop good workforce strategies. What are some of those challenges? Well, managing layoffs and outsourcing. All right. Layoffs, never fun. This is a fancy word for firing or terminations. All right. Outsourcing, that's basically saying we're not going to do it in house anymore. We're going to have an outside party do it. When you hear the term outsourcing, you usually think of I don't know, technical support. That's no longer done in house by a lot of companies anymore. Instead, it's done overseas. Why? It's cheaper. Okay, you're trying to maintain a link between pay and performance. Why? Because the idea is that if you do a good job, you should get more money. That's not always done this well. And if you can't have done this nice balance, then you're going to lose key talent and you're going to have through massive retirements, or people are just going to quit. Lately, it's been called the mass quitting. People are just basically sick of their bosses, sick of not being treated right. And then managing young people who have a sense of entitlement. Yeah, this is can be very much a challenge, I can tell you. All right. Despite what YouTube or social media or whatever Instagram will tell you, no, you are not going to. Odds are you will not be, the next billionaire in the first 18 months out of college. It's a little unrealistic. What is realistic, though, is to be very ambitious, but also to be very hardworking. All right. Other legal aspects that HR has to do is handle discrimination, discrimination against women, minorities, um, try to offer a work-life balance. And the big thing, more than anything else, is to avoid lawsuits by encouraging legal practices and knowing the law. If I can tell you no other tip as you guys go into the work world, please remember this. Human resources is fundamentally there for the benefit of the employer, not the employee. Repeat after me. HR is there for the employer, not the employee. Now, I'm not trying to be harsh about it, but I am trying to be realistic. You would be amazed that even top executives think, oh, well, I've been talking to an attorney at HR. They're not your attorney, they're the company's attorney. So anytime you're dealing with HR, remember that the information you're giving can be used for the benefit, and can and will be used for the benefit of the company first and foremost. And if helping the employees in the interest of the company, they will. But if it isn't, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. All right. So some of the problems and solutions HR does. All right. Um, you know, Sometimes some of the problems are HR professionals, they don't got sufficient strategic skills, This can be difficult. I think of what was that character from The Office, you know? Solutions. HR professionals should implement ways to quantify their impact on the company. This is always quite good. I mean, if HR can, professionals can show how their actions improve the operations of the firm and make it more profitable, it's a good way. Okay. So, what are HR planning? They evaluate the company's current workforce. They do this by analyzing jobs. What are the specific tasks appointed to each position? They develop job descriptions and explanation of the responsibilities for a specific position. Here's a hint. If you are ever asked to write a job description for your job and you were working there, do two things. Number one, write everything that you've ever done for the company that you are there to show just how extensive your job is. And number two, dust off your resume, because only when companies start running into trouble do they start asking for people to write job descriptions after the fact. Job specifications. What are the specific qualifications required to hold the position? That's also useful. And finally, the big thing that HR really is supposed to be doing is forecasting, trying to figure out for management what types of people and what types of positions they're going to need to fill. It's not easy finding people. It really isn't. I can tell you in my own field, hiring faculty, especially like full-time tenure track faculty, it can take a year or more to go through the entire process to get someone. Okay. So you can see here, like human resources, strategic planning. We've got recruitment, selection, training, evaluation, compensation, benefits, separation. That's leaving, basically. Ideally, in good terms for everybody, because yes, it is a small world. Sources of recruitment: internal employees who are currently within the firm to fill open positions. This is the best way you can get good jobs, by the way. Especially as you guys are like still in school, if you can get an internship or a part-time job at a company that you might want to work out later on, go for it. I know somebody who did this at Dick's Sporting Goods. She's now like a buyer for them. She's great, Celeste Mudry. I believe she started out working at a local Dick's Sporting Goods and worked her way up into the management trainee program, and then now she's like been promoted a couple of times. You know, we definitely got to get her back on campus. All right, external recruitment. This is where you look for employees from outside the firm. All right. Is this more expensive? Typically, yes. The problem with external recruitment too is, you know, they don't know your business, right? They don't know how the organization runs. Okay. On the other hand, though, the positive side of external recruitment is they don't know your business. They don't know how it runs, which means they come up with a fresh perspective. They aren't complacent, and they'll be like, and they won't accept answers like, well, we've always done it this way. Not acceptable. Selection process. You review applications. You reject unqualified candidates straight away. You know, they either don't have the experience or they don't have the proper degrees, etc. You know, you choose your qualified candidates, then you conduct interviews. Structured interviews. These are developing, administering a common list of questions for all candidates. We do this when we hire faculty at CalU and all of the PASHE schools, which is great, by the way. I've worked at a number of universities. I got to tell you, the hiring practices, the procedures at CalU were the best. They literally have a set of 10 questions that are agreed upon ahead of time. Every single candidate gets asked the same questions. And I know this for a fact simply because I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been on the I'm being recruited to take the job. And since I've been here, especially now that I'm tenured, I've been on hiring committees that looking for new faculty. Oh, here are these 10 questions, and we got to ask them each and every one. It's very fair. I think the most fair interview practice I have ever heard of was from the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra when they are recruiting for a musician to fill one of their positions in their symphony. It's amazing. What they will do is they will have the people who are having to evaluate the musician, they don't even meet the person. They don't know their name. They just literally listen to them play from behind like a curtain or something. And I guess the sound gets through well enough. And they'll listen to how they're performing. And then based on that, they'll make a decision whether to hire the person. Talk about objectivity. I mean, really just judging on what you're supposed to be judging, their ability to play music. Testing, that was a test, for example. You know, in my case with faculty, we had tests too. I had to teach a class. I had to present papers. I had to show my research. You know, to show that, yes, I could do this job. They wanted to see how I interacted with students. Selection process. They'll check your references, conduct background checks, Here's a tip for you guys. Check your own references or have a friend of a friend call to check your references just to make sure that everybody's they're saying what you want them to say about you. Okay. Other thing HR will do is they'll design appropriate job offers. And they'll put a package together, as they say. Okay. Another thing HR does, regrettably, they'll also have to hire contingent workers. This is true in the world of academia as well. Vast majority of, well, not the majority, but a good chunk of faculty are what's called contingent. They're adjunct faculty. They're part-timers. And they're way overworked and way underpaid. Employees who do not accept regular full-time jobs. Trust me, they probably would if you offered them to them. But these are temporary full-time workers, independent contractors, temporary agency or contract agency workers. I mean, don't get me wrong, contract work can be lucrative. I used to do it, not when I was in academia, but before I was in academia. I was an information technology contractor. I used to get paid pretty damn good money, to be honest with you. But how I would work it, I'd work like 3, 6, 9 months at a place, and I'd work 40 hours a week or more, sometimes overtime too, and with billable hours. But the downside is no benefits, none. I'd have to buy my own health insurance. I'd have to figure out my own retirement. I'd have to figure out all of these things, And the downside too is, okay, when it's feast or famine, either there'd be a lot of work or there'd be nothing. So, other types of things HR does. Training and development. First thing is orientation. You get here. The formal and informal training. The formal training, it's like, okay, where's my parking slip? Where do I park? Where do I put in my hours? Where do I do this, right? Informal stuff, where do I get... What's a good place to eat lunch? Where do you guys get coffee? That sort of stuff. Okay. It's a notion of introducing employees to company culture and providing administrative information. It's a very important process. On the job training, employees begin their jobs and learn as they go. Huge tip for you folks. If they offer you training at any workplace you go, take it, take it, take it. Why? Because you will be the last to be let go. Okay. Firms, if they think they've invested a lot into you, they are less likely than to let you go if layoffs are going to happen. Okay. And besides, you get time off and they give you donuts. Apprenticeship. I got a niece doing this. She's an apprenticeship. She's doing electrician work. You serve as an assistant to a fully trained worker. Another type of apprenticeship where teaching, teacher training. People have to become, study to become professional teachers. To get a license, they have to work X number of years. Okay. Off-the-job training. Okay, well, classroom training, certainly. Certainly a lot of my students in my MBA programs, why they're enrolled in MBA programs is because they're extended training from their employers are paying for it. This is very common now, web-based training. We see it everywhere. Crucial role in off-the-job training. Now, management development programs, very common. I just mentioned one of my former students was at Dick's Sporting Goods, and she went through a management trainee program, highly competitive. I had friends from high schools. She met her husband at the Disney management trainee program, highly competitive there too. It helps current and potential executives develop skills required to move into leadership positions. So, the other big job of HR is evaluation. Performance appraisal, this is your formal feedback process. Managers give their subordinates basic feedback on a one-to-one basis. They tell you what's going on, okay? HR role and performance appraisals can be create evaluation tools, Okay, coordinate actual appraisal process. And also, here's a big one: ensure that managers are trained in providing relevant and objective feedback. I can tell you one of my very first jobs. The guy gave me, on a 1 to 5 scale, the guy gave me, after I busted my tuchus, tuchus means butt, by the way, in Yiddish, busted my ass, okay? Putting in these computers in a hospital, all this stuff. Everybody loved me, yada, yada, et cetera, okay? This guy gave me a 3 out of a possible 5. And I looked at him, I'm like, and I had just graduated from college and stuff. I'm like, so you're giving me a 60, you know? Talk about discouragement. Needless to say, did not last long there. Compensation, money, what you get back at. But there's more than that. Competition, contribution, ability to pay, cost of living, legislation, all of these are factors in what and how much a company can, or a firm or an organization can or cannot or is not willing to pay you. Okay? Some of the compensation systems will be wages and salaries, pay for performance. Those of you who have worked in the serving professions who get tips, you've seen this, you know? You get paid in addition to wages or salaries, right? Unfortunately, we do not get those types of bonuses here in academia, regrettably. But you know, other ways in corporate, our options include commission, bonuses, profit sharing, stock options, and pay for knowledge. Okay. So what are some of your benefits? Well, these are your non-cash compensation: health insurance, vacation, childcare. Little known fact: healthcare, health insurance, vacation, childcare. Where did these all come about? Mostly in these United States, especially health insurance from World War II. During World War II, there was huge amounts of production, you can imagine, for the war effort, right? There were, to keep inflation low, there were limits on how much workers could get paid, okay? So factories wanted to be able to induce their workers to work more hours, but they couldn't pay them more. So what they did was they gave them benefits that they previously didn't have, like health insurance, like vacation time, like child care, etc. In HR benefits, we call this cafeteria style benefits. Employees are given a set dollar amount that they are required to spend on company benefits. So basically, they'll give you X amount of dollars. You can choose from A, B, C, or D. Another option is flex time. Allows workers to choose their work timings on the conditions that they complete the required number of hours. This is becoming extremely common these days, thank God. One of the reasons I quit the 9 to 5 world is I hated it. You start at 9, you end at 5. How much work you actually got? Most of the work done, I got done in an hour. You know? People who, honestly, water cooler, coffee time, waste of friggin' time. You know? You could get your work done in an hour, 2 hours, fine. Get out. You know? Benefits. Compressed work week. We're definitely seeing now from the pandemic. You know, telecommuting. Lord knows we're never going back, guys, which is a good thing. But frankly, it's good for companies. You know, I mean, to build these office towers with these awful veal fattening pens known as cubes, they're terrible, right? Telecommuting good. You can see these slides are a bit dated. Fax machines or broadband networks. Hey, when was this? Copyright 2019. Hey. All right. Job sharing. Job sharing is basically you do some of my work, I do some of your work, and then we switch back and forth. Keeps things interesting. All right. Separation. This is when you decide to part company. Companies have to be very careful because they don't want to get sued over stuff, right? So, and there is very much a thing called wrongful termination lawsuits, right? There's nothing worse than a disgruntled employee. There really isn't. Why? They're angry, they have time on their hands, and they know your dirty laundry. If you're a smart firm, you never get angry ex-employees. Give them a package, let them go, part as friends. Just bite the bullet. Just get rid of them. Reasons for separation. Promotions or job offers. Hey, maybe got a better job elsewhere. Mazel tov. Goodbye. Okay. Getting fired, transferred, or laid off. These are harder. Fired is probably the worst. Why? Lack of performance. It happens, and people do, and they should be laid off. Okay? Because it's bad for everybody, including themselves. They just don't realize it. Okay? There are also personal reasons, family needs, retirement, changing career aspirations. I told you guys, in my own case, I became a college professor after 9/11. Before that, I was just messing around as an IT consultant, So, who governs all of this? There is state law, but mostly it's federal legislation that affects HR, all right? Because recall, in these United States, federal law rules above and beyond state law. They had a little thing called the Civil War to make sure that's how it worked. All right. Title VII, Civil Rights Act of 1964. That showed that prohibits discrimination, hiring, firing, compensation, etc., based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin for anybody with 15 or more workers, right? This was huge, the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Okay. When you see Title VII, by the way, that's basically a section within this major act that was passed then, right? Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the EEOC. This is an organization that watches all of these things. Okay. Federal agency designed to regulate and enforce Title VII, right? The history of federal legislation, Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938. Hey, let's get rid of child labor. Yay. Okay. Equal Pay Act of 1963. Hey, equal pay for men and women. And then regardless of race, color, or creed. Yay. Sounds good so far. Okay. Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970. This is huge. Gee. Wouldn't it be nice to be working in places that, you're not going to lose a hand or lose an eye or lose a leg? It happens in parts of the world. Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986. This was very big, actually, in terms of globalization. All right, let's develop visas like the H-1B visa system for work visas. All right. Americans with Disabilities Act 1990. This is huge. This is basically protecting people in their employment situations, regardless of whatever disability, physical, physiological, psychological, whatever. If it is covered, then workers have a certain degree of protection. And then finally, we have Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993. This was a great act too. This is where I have a dear friend of mine. She's a faculty. She has her spouse, has long-term medical issues. She's periodically needed to use this family medical leave. It has protected her job as a faculty to allow her to take extended time off to be able to care for her spouse. All right. Affirmative action. Let's talk about this. These were policies meant to increase employment and educational opportunities for minority groups. Okay. What was their intention? To make up for the systematic discrimination of the past by creating more opportunities in the present. That's what that was all about. Sexual harassment, workplace discrimination against a person based on his, her, or their gender. Okay. Ranges from requests for sexual favors to presence of hostile work environments, pretty self-explanatory. Firms should ensure that everyone in the organizations understands that as, what do you think, guys? Not tolerated, number one. It's against the law, and there's a system to process these complaints. No one should ever work in an environment where any of this nonsense ever occurs. And if you ever find yourself in a situation like this, immediately go to HR. And if they can't resolve it, get another job, because life is too short. Okay? All right. So some of the terms we're learning from this chapter. Obviously, human resources, HR management, job analysis, descriptions, specifications, internal, external recruitment, structured interviews, probationary period. This is where they'll hire you for like, okay, we're going to hire you for like probationary for the first month or two, and if everything works out, okay, fine, then you're in, right? Contingent workers, these are the temporary workers. Orientation, when you first join in, they get you oriented, meaning they'll show you processes and procedures at a company. On the job training, as the name implies. Apprenticeships, we talked about. Management development, we talked about. Performance appraisal, compensation, wages. All right. Salaries, we talked. Benefits. Okay, telecommuting, yep. Okay, here's my summary. HR focuses on a company's human investment, human capital. Arguably, the most valuable resource a company has is its people, both its internal, meaning its employees, and its external, its customers. If you keep your employees happy, they will make good products, which will make your customers happy. It's really easy. Conceptually speaking, business really is that easy. Keep your employees happy so they make good products to keep your customers happy. Ta-da! Okay. They deal with layoffs and outsourcing, wage gap issues, challenges in building a top quality workforce. Okay. Some of the HR responsibilities include recruitment and selection, and firms rely on HR to avoid employment lawsuits. All right, gang, that was it. Thanks for watching.